You don't have to tell me your situation, but if you want to, I'll listen. But how about I pray for you, and I pray that whatever your situation is, that God will help you in that situation, and that He will heal you, and that He will comfort your situation, let you know that He is there and that He does love you. The last thing we need to be saying is, you never were a Christian. Because one last thing we have to think about, with those who may have been praying, may have been praying for a certain situation, over a certain thing. Like, again, if it was a mom who was losing a child or a man who lost his wife, they could, one thing you have to consider is that they might have been praying and praying and praying and praying and praying and praying with all their might. See, one thing that a lot of people at church have gotten really bad about is that they say, you didn't believe enough. Believe more, pray more, more faith, more belief, more belief. Like, they're telling the people to conjure up all this faith. You're not believing enough. You didn't get this yet because you didn't believe enough. You didn't believe enough. You didn't believe enough. How about they didn't get it yet because maybe God doesn't think they're ready for it yet, or maybe God knows that is not the right thing for them. Unless God tells you that they're not believing enough, how about you back off and you let God deal with that person in the situation? Because you're not helping his case by acting like you know what God's thinking when actually you don't. But let me tell you something, the whole conjuring up faith, it's actually a bit of a contradiction against, God's word, because Jesus Christ has said to the disciples that if they wanted to move a mountain, they only needed faith like a mustard seed. He did not say, in order to move a mountain, you have to have faith like a mountain. He said you had to have faith like a mustard seed. Do you know how small that seed is? And I just want to give one example from the Bible that could possibly, go along with this. Now, in the Gospels, there's a story of a man who had a son that was demon possessed. And the dad comes to Jesus and he says, ask Jesus to heal his son. And Jesus told him that if he believed, that it'll happen. And the dad says, help. I believe if I remember correctly, he specifically said, Lord, help my unbelief. He says to Jesus, help my unbelief. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot of faith. In fact, that kind of sounds like he's doubting, but there is a little bit of faith there, and let me tell you why. Even though the dad might have doubted, he had faith that Jesus could prove him wrong. He says, help my unbelief. He had just enough faith in Jesus to show him that he was not only capable of healing his son, but that he would do it. Help my unbelief. That kind of sounds like faith of a mustard seed. May have been a little doubt there, but he had just enough faith in Jesus to be able to prove him that he not only he was capable of healing his son, but that he loved his son and him enough to do it. I mean, there's different times in the Bible where you see biblical characters, they're questioning God on things or doubting him on things, and you don't see God sending lightning bolts on them or telling them, "No, I'm not going to help you now because how dare you doubt." And rather, in fact, he helps him. Like with David. I mean, David, was doubtful and he, questioned different things. But then later in the book of Psalms, you see how God, helped him in this situation. Or with the book of Job, you see God does rebuke Job, but it wasn't because he doubted. He said, Job, you're talking about things that you don't know about. You're speaking about things that you don't understand. I mean, were you there when I made the heavens? Were you there when I made creation, basically? He says to Job, you're talking about stuff that you don't know about. God doesn't say, Job, I'm mad at you because how dare you doubt me. That's not what he said to him. He was talking to him saying, you are speaking about things that you don't know about. And like I said with David, you don't see God throwing lightning bolts at him. You don't see God throwing lightning bolts at Moses. When Moses, talks to, questions when like when God told Moses he was going to destroy the children of Israel and make a nation from Moses, Moses was like, by God, if you do that, then other nations won't believe that you were strong enough to get them out of Egypt. Did God, throw a lightning bolt at Moses? No. He agreed. He actually, decided that he wasn't going to destroy Israel and, put him in the wilderness. You see, or what when Gideon was kind of being a little kind of a smart aleck toward the angel, when the angel was telling him that God is going to use him to save Israel, Gideon kind of made a bit of a sarcastic comment. He's like, where is God? Where is God now? Did God cast him down? No. He still used him. So all this talk of conjuring up faith, more faith, more faith, believe more, believe more, believe more, believe more. You do not have to fake or muster up a ton kind of faith or you don't have to bust the veins at, give yourselves a headache to conjure up more faith. One thing you have to understand, even when you're in a place of brokenness and all you can say is just Jesus or say help me, and that's all you can do or say, God answers that. As long as you're humble and you're asking because you truly believe, even if you because you truly believe that God can somehow help you, that's enough for him. You don't have to have all this mind-blowing, amount of faith. You just have enough. You just need a little. Like I said, the father of that boy, he just had just enough faith to believe that Jesus could show him that he can heal his son, and and not just that, but he would also do it. That he'll do it, and that he would love him and his son enough to do it. That's all it takes. So, as Christians, we need to do better. Again, we need to drop Paul. You were never a Christian in the first place, and let's kind of push off I shouldn't say kind of, we should push off conjure up faith, more faith, more faith. Let's just be honest and say that God has three answers. Maybe God could be not answering your prayers, but again, that's where you have to examine yourself and see if that is the case. And you have to have faith of a mustard seed, not faith the size of a Mount Sinai or Mount Everest or any mountain. You don't even need to have faith the size of a rock. Just the mustard seed. The mustard seed. That's all it takes. I hope all is well with you all. Love you all. Shalom.